Welcome to the Fempire podcast for women building empires where your health, relationships, and wealth rise together. Here we focus on what moves the needle the most. I am your host, Jessica Joy. Let's sharpen the axe and dive in. On today's episode, we have a special guest. This is Angela Dawn. She is the founder of Authentic Heart Coaching, and her specialty is so juicy. So she helps people overcome relationship and intimacy challenges through somatic practices. So especially focusing on couples, integrating tantra practices, and these practices help their relationship, their intimacy come to a new level. And she has a vast background with therapeutic coaching and Buddhist practice and tantra and shamanism. So Angela, we were so excited you are here. Welcome.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Yes,
Yeah, I'm
absolutely.
happy to
And
be here.
Angela has been generous and has brought a gift. I will talk more about it, but it will help you if you feel like you are blocked in any way around your intimacy and your relationship. It'll be a quick PDF so you can get on the other side of that. So, Angela, I'll
hmm
talk about that at the end. But Angela, you and I talked a bit about what you do. For our audience, share about
Yes.
what you do and how did you get into it?
Okay. Yeah. So, one doesn't just wake up and say, I want to be a tantric sex coach when I grow up, right? So it was kind of a windy path. I really went on my own spiritual path of study, starting, 30 years ago with yoga and getting into Buddhism, becoming a meditator, learning classical tantra, and then really going on my own personal relationship journey and starting to understand what it takes to have a solid relationship, and in lots of different respects and in lots of different dynamics. And I ended up kind of becoming an unofficial counselor to a lot of my friends who were either having trouble in their primary relationship or were engaged in kind of an alternative relationship style. I was helping a lot of folks navigate. And then one of my best Buddhist friends said, this should be your job. Like, this is what you're good at. This is what you should be doing. So I ended up studying to become a tantric sex coach and completely changing my career from the field of education to kind of a different sort of education. Instead of working with youngsters, I'm working with adults to educate them on how to really hold space for their partner, how to connect more deeply. Yeah. So that's how I got here. And yeah, I work with couples and with individuals. So I know that your podcast is geared toward really high performing women. And in terms of what I do for those women, it's really help them to slow down and connect with their sexuality, however that shows up for them, right? For some people, they might connect with the idea of goddess energy. Some people might connect with the idea of dominant energy or submissive energy. We all have our different wants and needs and desires when it comes to the bedroom, but high performing women are often up against some difficulties in the bedroom. Maybe they think they should be multi-orgasmic and they're not, and they're wondering why, right? Or maybe they could orgasm with their previous partner and their current partner isn't quite doing it for them, although that partner paints a beautiful picture and everything is right, except maybe in the bedroom. And I can help these women sort of dig deep and find out what's going on, right? What's going on for them, and give them the sort of practices and support that they need to achieve whatever their goal is in terms of intimacy or relationship.
Yes. Oh, I love the concept of different energies will help you almost drop into more of your sexual
Mhm.
state, you could say, where it's like, oh, the goddess. And whereas some people, it's like, meh, or dom, or for me,
Yeah,
like,
exactly, right?
I'm like, eh.
Yeah, right. So, different strokes for different folks, right?
Totally. Yeah, and you hit the nail on the head with high performers. And I want to talk about some questions I have honestly around this that I know would resonate with the audience. And then I want to go into
Mhm.
Tantra. 'Cause some people may be familiar with it, some people not.
Right.
I'm not new, but I'm certainly not seasoned. So I know one of the challenges for our ladies would be they can be operating in a more masculine energy during the day and
Mhm.
dropping into feminine. They can, but even tapping into like if you are running a business, you have a relationship, you're a parent, and then It's definitely like, oh, we want to create this space. Obviously, there's different tips and tricks, but you're the expert here. Speaking to that type of woman, what do you think are some
Mhm.
important things for her to look at that can help her expand like the sexuality part of her life or her intimacy, etc.?
Yeah. So the things that get you to be high performer in business, specifically in that sort of male oriented professional world, are not the things that bring you satisfaction in the bedroom typically, right? High performing women are excellent at doing, but the difference is intimacy is not a performance, right? So just because you're good at showing up and following through and pushing yourself doesn't mean that like those same practices are going to be resulting in success in the bedroom, right? So you can't really like outperform your way into deeper sensation, right? Or like better connection with your
System.
partner. Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
it's really
Okay.
different. And one of the analogies that I like to use for women, this doesn't work for everybody, but for women who have had children, right? If you've had a child, you understand the birth process and you understand that the birth process is like super challenging. But it's not a challenge that you can typically direct. It's a challenge that you have to surrender to. And the best sex is that. It's so similar to giving birth. Yeah. So that's, yeah,
I
I know, right?
I think it can be such a beautiful balance in your life where it's like, okay,
Hmm.
I played this role in this, and this is it's such a flip, get the polarity or, into surrender. My mind
Hmm.
goes to,
Well,
how
I
do
mean,
you surrender? Obviously, I have my own ways, but it's so funny. It's already like
mhm.
thinking it the wrong way because that's still directional is asking how. But I've been taught that you like lean into what feels good. Like it's more into the body, like, oh, this feels
Yes, yes,
good.
yes.
Like,
And
I
high
like this.
performing women tend to be disconnected from their bodies.
Yes. Yeah. Go into some of that. Like if you were
Yeah.
to help somebody shift into like, okay, it's the end of the day. We're changing gears. Like
Mhm.
what
Mhm.
helps? What
Yeah,
helps?
so many of the women I work with, they're, emotionally intelligent and introspective, but they're kind of like living from the neck up, right?
Mm,
And they might know what they're thinking and feeling, but it's different to really sense it. And you're right, following your pleasure is what's required, right? So not analysis, right? But really living in the sensation and slowing down enough to feel the subtle signals that your body is giving you, right? So that you know what wave to ride, as it were.
yes.
Hmm.
Oh, I just got
Yeah,
so
it's not
relaxed just
about
even saying
logistics.
it's just a different way of operating. Well, and there's so
Exactly.
much,
Exactly.
it's leaning into the unknown. Like, "Oh, well, okay,
Mm,
you can't direct it. Oh, this is so good." Okay. So, what is something you really wanna get across? Like, what's one of your, like,
hmm.
zones of genius in this area that it's like, "Oh, this really helps people." After you've been working with people so much, like, I'm curious if there's some
Hmm.
common, like, "Ooh, when they tap into this," or "This part really helps." Yeah.
Yeah. So a lot of high achieving women are in some way tracking their partner's experience during intimacy, right?
Mm,
Or tracking their own intimacy goal, right? So,
mhm,
like monitoring, adjusting, anticipating, and then that's still like kind of a lot of mental load, right? Which
mhm.
isn't going to let you really receive. So, letting go of the idea that you have to do intimacy right, that there is a right way to do it, right? So if intimacy becomes an area that you need to succeed at, there's really something that's lost in that, in like the idea of performance. And really what you're looking for here is letting go, which requires safety, relational safety, emotional safety, physical safety. So you have to be in a relationship where you feel safe and there has to be a sense of spaciousness, and what I like to invite people into is letting go of orgasm being the, the crowning jewel of the experience, right? And just getting curious and following your pleasure, as we talked about.
There was one word that you talked about. I can't quite remember, but it's leaning into, if we're not leaning into like an agenda, I forget what you
Mm-hmm.
said. What makes this successful, or like where the mind is way too involved in this body experience?
Yeah. So, like, following your pleasure. Yes.
Play, pleasure. Are there little guidance words that help people? I like words.
Yeah,
Yes.
totally, right? So what's missing here is not knowledge, right? Like, we don't need like a new technique of how to, rub yourself or how to give a better oral or, we don't
Yes.
need more techniques. What we typically need is permission to slow down. Right?
Mm.
Slow down.
Love that.
Permission to feel without having to fix anything. Permission to receive without having to earn anything, right? To just be. And my cue words that I give people that I think are really powerful is to breathe into your pleasure and then exhale and let it expand.
Oh, that sounds so fun.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's one way to slow down. So if you need kind of a mantra or a
Mhm.
technique here, just
Yeah.
notice where you're feeling pleasure in your body and
Mm.
literally bring your next inhale into that space. And as you exhale, let it be like you're blowing on a fire to make it grow, right? Like you're blowing on that campfire. You're like, right? So, like, breathe into where you feel that yumminess and breathe out and let it expand in
Yeah.
your body.
Doing it. Anybody else? Let's that's perfect. Dropping into the body, one benefit of sex and intimacy is all the benefits around your hormones.
Mhm.
Reducing
Mhm.
cortisol, your sex hormones improve. Like when we're in with Empire, it's about how can we let all the areas of our life rise. It's not just
Mhm.
building this big empire. It's like my health is better, my intimacy is better, relationship is better. And so it feeds a lot. I
Mhm.
think this is so good. I have a question.
Mhm.
Let's say I feel like people will be in two camps where their partner may not be ready to learning some of these things, but it's like you can still
Mhm.
take responsibility for how you want to operate in
Absolutely.
this and then start talking about it. And then there's the ones that are like, let's go to like one of your retreats for tantra.
Right.
Let's talk about these two. Let's start with like, okay, if this is just going to be your journey, is it just how you
Mhm.
bring it, or what have you found helps with that type of person?
So I think specifically with tantra and also really any kind of practices that are helping women to experience more pleasure, starting with yourself is
Mm.
actually great. So if you don't have a partner that's interested in learning tantra, that's fine. You can learn how to have better orgasms, receive more pleasure, slow down, feel into your body more, guide women on their own through these kinds of journeys all the time. And it's a great place to start because if you know how to have expansive pleasure, your partner could just be there and you could be having your own tantric experience. Like, they don't even have to know you're having a tantric energetic experience. They'll just kind of be like, woo, what was that happened tonight?
Yes. Yes.
Starting with yourself, starting with your own self pleasure practice, starting with how you take care of your own body is really important.
Yeah.
And then from there, you can bring it to partnered intimacy, and it doesn't even have to be a full buy in from the partner. One thing that I suggest is like once you have a partner that has like a little bit of buy in, I actually have a video course for couples. It can be, you can purchase it for men or for women or for couples, and it's called Pussy Whispering. And
Mhm.
it is
Oh,
all about women's pleasure, right? And the whole video course is about women's pleasure. It's what women need in terms of the psychology to receive. It's what women need in terms of the anatomy, and it's a little bit getting into some tantric breathing and
I love
energy toward the end of the course. But it's a really accessible way to improve your partnered intimacy.
I love that because it's sometimes you wanna say, like, that I need this and this, but it can be a learning experience together where they have their own
Exactly.
etcetera.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
So that's
good.
one way in. Now, if he's all in, then the best thing you can do is private coaching. right?
Mhm.
Like working with me or somebody like me.
Okay.
Because if you have private coaching, that coach can dial in to just what you need in your relationship. Right.
Mhm.
And if you're not sure, like which coach is right for you, do a single session, go to one of their workshops. I host workshops in Maryland once a month for couples, and I have people like fly in for them and try it out. And then they're like, yes, we want you. Right. And then we can work on Zoom if they live in Florida or, wherever else they might be.
It's amazing. So they can go to an immersive experience and then from there,
Mhm. Yeah.
do it on Zoom. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Here's a question for people who like I see sexuality. There's kind of different categories. There's like, let's go there. There's some people who like the kinky side. There's some people who like
Mhm.
the energetics. There's some people who just like it's kind of like sex for sex. And then there's
Right.
sensuality. For the people who
Mhm.
maybe it's tantra is new, they've heard this word. What would you say? I like to think of like, how could I try out all the flavors?
Yeah.
Just somebody's really new to this. What is this? Why should I even be interested type of thing for that person?
Yeah, so, you're right. There are different flavors, different things that people are into. There are people that are just directly sexual. There are people who are sensual. There are people who want to play with energy. There's people
Yeah.
who are kinky. And I think Tantra has something to offer all of those people. Tantra is really neo Tantra, modern Tantra, what people think of as like sexy Tantra. What you're doing is you're connecting spirituality and sexuality. And I don't mean as a religious experience, but I mean like really knowing who your partner is and like being able to connect with their soul. So if you're strictly interested in performative sex and you don't want to connect with your partner on a deep level, then Tantra is not for you. It is for people who want to connect on a deeper level, right? So we will get that out of the way and say, it's going to take you somewhere deeper if you do tantric practices. And then in the realm of tantric practices, there's a lot of different ways to connect. So some of the workshops and work that I do with couples focuses on sensual. Some of it's pretty sexual, like teaching yoni massage or lingam massage, right? Some of it is energetic, where I'm having people get into tantric positions and really use their breath and their imagination to elicit certain states of consciousness, and that can be part of intimacy, right? So I think there's a lot of different entry points, and it really just it can be adjusted to what you're looking for.
Beautifully said. I think it's bringing the soul layer into it with
Exactly.
energetic sensuality. What a playground, you know?
Most women really have a lot of energetic capacity too. It's
Mhm.
like they might not even realize that they're having energy sex until somebody points it out.
When you're working with couples or even individuals, what do you see happen? Like once this starts clicking and
Mhm,
they're going deeper and having some of these really powerful experiences, or, there's everybody's different what they're going to get
mhm.
from it. What are some
Sure.
of the things, the benefits that you see happening for them?
So typically, especially with private coaching, communication improves dramatically in the relationship. Satisfaction, happiness, connection, all of those things are going to improve in the relationship because through doing tantric communication exercises, you're going to learn how to listen a little bit better to your partner. Because you're having this juicy connected sex, you're going to be a little bit less testy. Like if your partner does something you don't like, right? You're just going to have like a little more ease in your connection with them. But it doesn't stop there in your primary partnership. What I see a lot when I work with individuals is they came to me because they wanted to achieve a certain intimacy goal. And really what happened was they became a better parent or they became a better manager, because the skills that you learn to improve your relationship with yourself and your intimate life don't end at your intimate life. They spill over into all areas.
So powerful. And it's like this pour into this one thing and it's a positive
Mhm.
raise in the others. I can
Yeah.
totally see it because you're connecting more with your body. Ha- It's just a real tuning in and
Mm.
then doing that in relationship with another person where you're tuning into them and like creating the safe space and like
Yeah.
be so
And it's
independent.
scary. I'm not going to deny that it's scary to be that vulnerable with your partner.
Mm,
like it is something you have to learn how to do, and you have to take, progressive steps in that direction. It's not like an
mm.
overnight free fall into
It's very scary,
into
like,
trusting
where you
them,
don't know who's listening, and they're like,
Yeah.
"Huh?" But yeah, it's
Yeah,
just layers.
exactly. Peel back
Ah,
the layers.
amazing. So,
Yeah.
is there one thing that you want that we haven't touched base on that you're like, "I really want to get this across that could, benefit our listeners?"
Yes, there is. And it's that you don't have to be having an intimacy problem or a relationship problem to reach out for coaching. It's about improving this area of your life. So, in the same way that you might hire a trainer or a dietitian or work with your physician or even like get an executive coach as just a support in your journey as a professional woman, um, having a sex coach can be just that same kind of support. A lot of people think about their needs as, having a home and, supporting their
Mhm.
family and taking care of their bodies. But your intimate life is part of taking care of your body, part of taking care of your emotional health. So, the same way that you would have a therapist, you might want to have a relationship.
Yes, I love seeing it as one of your primary needs because it's not
Hmm.
really positioned that way. You're totally right. And
Yeah.
I've gone on my own journey of building business and being a mom and being married and all these things. And I've noticed when this area, part of my life, has more attention, has more space, I can slow it down more.
Yes.
Everything else improves too. There's more of a sense
Totally.
of aliveness and ease. It connects you to you, it connects you to your partner.
Mhm.
And so I'm really behind like the work that you're doing and really want
Thank
to
you.
advocate for, yeah, women's needs around this. And it's been so interesting to meet so many different women, who are thriving and successful from, whatever perspective I'm seeing. And
Mhm.
the ones that like are so vibrant, you find out that they are all
They're
about
having great sex.
reclamation. like, oh, I'll give you little sneak peeks about it's like, okay, that makes sense. Like that's why
Mhm.
she's so we
I
can be
I did
friends
a talk
forever.
for a business group.
Yes.
It was like 2024. I went up to talk to a business group in Connecticut, and the topic of my workshop talk was using your sexual energy to fuel your life and your business. Because once you have that juiciness going on, whether you're creating it yourself or you're creating it in partnership, you can use the excess and pour it into your business projects.
Mm.
And what you get out of that is so much richer and so much more amazing.
There's a concept that it what I took from that is it's like pouring into your intimate and sexual health raises your energy in general, so you have more to give. And I do feel like, they talk about like being more turned on in your life or doing things that
Hmm.
turn you on. If you're practicing more intimacy, sexuality, you get more familiar with that feeling, so you can feel it in
Hmm.
other parts of your life. Like, ooh, this
Exactly.
project in my
Yes.
business, like, you know,
Right. Yeah. That
so
same
much cool.
energy that like you get from like looking at your favorite movie star. What if
Yes.
you could look at your next project on your desk the same way? Right.
Except I'm not attracted to movie stars anymore. I'm like, I don't even know you.
Well, yeah. It's just it's an easy example. Maybe it's
It's so funny.
maybe it's the guy that bagged your groceries at TJ's.
Where that's so like such a nugget there.
Yeah.
Yes, because we're all about optimizing energy with
Mhm.
Fempire, and there's so many things you can do health wise and biohacking and peptides, but this is such a big part of it. So
Mhm.
thank you for sharing your wisdom, your experience, your
Yeah.
expertise. So the gift that I want
Mm.
to make sure everybody
Mhm.
gets from Angela, super easy to access. So it is she calls it a 3-minute intimacy triage. Now, it's a PDF. You got to do this on
Mhm.
your own, guides you to better understand what's blocking intimacy in your relationship. I'm already like, but is there any more that you want to say about that? If you want that, we will link it in the show notes. So whether you're on
Mhm.
social media or in the email, there will be a link. If you can't find it or you just want a direct link for ease, just reply. Let's say 3-minute triage, and we can get
Mhm.
that to you. 3-minute intimacy
Beautiful.
triage. Angela, is there anything more you wanna say about the guide and then
Yeah, so
we'll
this
have
is just a way to kind of like point you in the right direction. right?
Yeah.
So you can read through this sheet really quickly and kind of say, that's why my spouse and I aren't connecting well right now, right? Or this is why my partner and I haven't slept together in 3 weeks. I'm pretty sure it's this, right? So, just kind of getting you in the right ballpark for your particular reason, your particular circumstances that maybe the bedroom isn't really happening right now. And then it will give you, the guide will give you specific recommendations. It'll say, well, for that issue, these are the types of health professionals you might want to contact, right? Or for this issue, this is the kind of therapy or coaching that would be most beneficial. So it's just going to kind of point you in the right direction toward the resources that will benefit you the most.
Thank you so much for bringing that.
Okay.
If you want to go find Angela, which I highly recommend you do, she is on Instagram at Authentic Heart Coaching. She also has a
Beautiful.
website that has amazing resources there at AuthenticHeartCoach.com. All of this will be linked, but go there right now and just start your journey. It's like just lead with the
Mhm.
curiosity, lead with the pleasure. What's behind this corner? And thank you again for sharing your wisdom. Any
Thank you
last
for
words?
having me, Jessica. Yeah, thank you for
Absolutely.
having me.
Yes. All right. Everybody, we will see you on the other side. Thank you so much for listening and have a wonderful day.